night out. It's the older you get, hangovers last longer. Some of these last days for me, and those days are written off. And all of a sudden, you have all this extra time, and I put that into exercise because I had the energy. I started coming here, and so it was all a downstream effect. Same with diet. It really is all about consistency. We all know we kind of need to eat better and we need to exercise more, but alcohol is one of the things that holds us back from doing that. When it's not there, it just becomes so much more natural. And I lost the weight because those things just fell into place. It wasn't really conscious. It was just the linchpin at the start.
Motivation, see results.
Yeah.
When you started to see results, you got more motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think when you first start doing something, it's always quite hard. But the more, again, it's consistency. Consistency builds momentum in any aspect of whatever, in any endeavor. The more you do it, the more it builds. It's like compound interest, and that's why I was able to just carry on not drinking for 3.5 years, because I just didn't want to. It was just getting so good, I'll come on to that, but no, it didn't. That's no, of course. No, I've never been overweight, but I definitely had a dad bod without having any kids. So I was just didn't. Yeah, I've never been big, as it were. I've always been relatively slight, but I wasn't. Yeah, we saw from the picture earlier. No, I never had any. I always struggled. I didn't really start doing any kind of exercise until I was about 35, and then it's just because I thought you need to start doing some exercise. But I just was like, well, because people say that the best exercise you can do is the one that you enjoy, so you keep doing it. But I wasn't interested in any sport at all. I tried tennis around the corner, bagshot tennis, and I didn't get into exercise until I had the energy and the motivation. I have people that I work with who don't live particularly well, and they say, yeah, it's great that you exercise, but I'm not into exercise. I'm not interested in going to the gym. But I wasn't. But it was just a byproduct of taking the brakes off, which is alcohol. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who? Me? I'm not on your level, I'll be honest. You always blow me away. I don't bust out like you do. You're impressive. I try. That's very kind of you. I appreciate you saying that so much. It's very kind. Thank you so much. Yeah, dynorphin. No, not really. No, because it's effectively the dopamine kicks in when you have that first drink. And that's why you get like an hour, where you feel I feel brilliant. But then it addresses the balance, because you can never get the dopamine again because the dynorphin's balanced it out, so it doesn't get kind of worse and worse. Mm. I mean, it's part it's the dynorphin's not the only reason. There's a lot. I mean, I've kind of presented it in quite an arbitrary way. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of things going on. Dynorphin's the main one. But it's also because you've not slept very well. You wake up in the middle of the night and you've got anxiety and all these downstream effects. Okay, second section. It's not as long as the first, you'll be pleased to hear. I'm going to talk about how I challenged my subconscious beliefs. So if all these benefits are there, and we all know about it, why don't we just stop? Because as humans, emotions are more powerful to us than information. I can tell you all this stuff about dynorphins can make you feel shit and all this kind of thing, but if you're like, no, yeah, but I like the feeling I get from a drink. Emotions are much more powerful. We do things because of how they make us feel, and It all comes down to beliefs. Beliefs drive our emotions, and emotions drive our actions. It all comes down to beliefs. Beliefs live in our subconscious brain, which is about 90%, 95% of our thought process. Our behavior is done subconsciously. So tying a shoelace, brushing your teeth, driving a car, drinking, it's all automatic. It's all done on autopilot. When you learn to drive, mirror, signal, maneuver, that's all happening in your conscious brain. Once we know how to do something and it's behavioral, it gets committed to the subconscious brain. And that drives our behavior. And this is why we drink. My experience was, where my beliefs came from about alcohol was from my childhood, which is true of most people. Most of our subconscious beliefs about something generally are formed by about 7 years old. So for me, I had parents that were very sociable people. They weren't alcoholics, but they went to the pub on a Friday night, on a Sunday afternoon, went to a lot of parties in the 80s. So what I saw as a kid growing up was wherever there's alcohol, there's fun. Wherever there's fun, there's alcohol. But what I didn't recognize was on a Sunday night, there'd always be an argument. And on a Monday morning, my dad would have a hangover and feel like shit and wouldn't want to go to work. But that happens several hours after the drinking. So what I was learning as a child was alcohol fun, alcohol fun, alcohol fun. And then when I was a bit older, when I was in my teens, alcohol helped me fit in, helped me become part of a social group. Most people in their teenage years are a bit awkward and don't know how to fit in with people. Alcohol enabled me to do that. So my beliefs about alcohol were that it was fun, or activities were more fun if alcohol was included, and that it helped me fit in. And I carried those beliefs around with me until I unpacked them when I was in my early 40s. But there's more to it than that. Our subconscious beliefs are relentlessly reinforced by social conditioning. So alcohol is all around us from the moment we're born to the moment we die. The moment we die. It's ever present. It's at weddings, it's at wakes, and everything in the middle. The marketing messages are incredibly powerful and incredibly subtle. Drinking alcohol is so normalized that it is the only drug that you have to justify not taking. If you ever had a break from alcohol and you're in a pub with people and they're like, why aren't you drinking? You wouldn't say to somebody, why aren't you smoking? Why aren't you doing a line of coke? Oh, it doesn't make any sense. It's so normalized that we just don't question it. You're considered a bit weird if you don't drink. I'm the only one in this room who doesn't drink. So by definition, I'm a bit strange. But we never question it. And we if at best, we only ever see one side of the coin. Alcohol is always portrayed as aspirational. But when I talk about the other side of the coin, we all know these kind of scenes that happen up and down the country and all of the downstream effects of alcohol. That's not on the Budweiser advert, is it? It's, a drop, a bit of dew going down the glass on a summer's day and like, oh, I've got to have it. You're not seeing the Saturday night in the centre of Rochdale, or wherever it is. So how do you change your beliefs? How did I change my beliefs? It starts with noticing what's really happening, conscious awareness. Mindfulness is another way of putting it. Questioning what's happening in your subconscious. What are the triggers that are making you think, I fancy a pint today? And are those reasons actually true? So the example for me that I gave you earlier was I was convinced that I couldn't do anything with my friends without there being alcohol involved. I couldn't go to Twickenham, I couldn't go up to Goodison Park with alcohol not removed. It's not going to work. But then when I tried it, I realised, actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was. When I did it 2 or 3 times, it was a bit like, it makes no difference. And part of the reason for that is we make an assumption that alcohol is the fun, it's giving us the good time, which was definitely my belief. But actually, there's a bit more to it than this again. Our bodies release dopamine when we drink alcohol. We've just spoken about that. But also, our bodies release dopamine when we're around other people. So we are hardwired to seek human connection. Again, that's how we've evolved. That's why we're here, because we seek out partners, we seek out tribes to protect us, to be part of a group. If we hadn't done that historically, we wouldn't be here. And because of that, our bodies also release dopamine when we're around other people, particularly people that we care about and our friends. So when you remove alcohol and you go out with your friends and people you care about, you still get the dopamine hit. But we can't often disassociate that from alcohol, because alcohol is at every single event that we ever go to, and we think, oh, that's great, go out and get pissed, brilliant. but actually you still feel really good without the alcohol involved. I wanted to go back to the slide I presented at the beginning where I spoke about the reasons for drinking that people gave. I'm going to try and dislodge a few of these for you now. I'm going to get some resistance, I sense, from a few people on this, but bear with me, it's all opinions. So the first one, I think a couple of people have mentioned, socialising. I drink because I like to socialise, and this is a huge one. With people that I coach, this is by far the biggest topic that people have, and it's a really big topic, and I'm not going to cover it in a couple of slides, but if anyone wants to have a conversation one-to-one about this, grab a coffee at Pennyhill, I'd be delighted to. But I'm going to ask you one question. What's the difference between these two scenes? One's got alcohol in it, one hasn't. But they're still socialising, right? We're socialising all the time. You know, when I see you in the gym, we're socialising. When you go to the supermarket, I was going to say, exactly. But people are like, well, I couldn't socialise that alcohol. You go to, you're in the office speaking to colleagues. You get in the supermarket, you talk to the person on the checkout. You're socialising, right? Obviously there's a lot more to it than this, but you know, fundamentally, we don't need alcohol to socialise. A lot of the problems that people have that they talk about to me in coaching is, yeah, but my friends will say, why aren't you drinking? And that's because you're holding a mirror up to people. They're not worried about you're not drinking. It's the fact that you're suggesting that I'm not going to be able to drink. So that's what's really happening. But that tends to last for a very short time. And actually nowadays, it's a lot less common to have that kind of response from people. It certainly was 5-10 years ago. You would be like, what do you mean I'm drinking? It's ridiculous. Why aren't you drinking? But that's kind of gone away a little bit. But even if we're all adults, we're all confident people. If what I say to people, well, I've kind of always owned it. I kind of like the idea that I don't drink. One thing I used to say to people was, I've been taking a break recently and I feel amazing. And at the moment, I want to keep it going. And people can't really say, no, you're going to have a drink. It's a bit like, no. Yeah, until you're confident about it. And then when I got to the point where I was just a bit like where I am now, where I've decided I'm going to stand up in front of people and bang on about how great alcohol-free living is that I really own it now and I'm really proud of it. And you tend to sort of find in social situations, it does take somebody to do it first. And other people are a bit like, oh, yeah, what's it like? I'm kind of quite interested in that. And particularly nowadays, it's becoming more normalized. And then you get one or two other people that kind of get into it as well and people follow. And it's not like it was kind of 5-10 years ago. The other quite thing on socializing as well is, kids don't drink alcohol. Hopefully your kids don't drink alcohol. But you take a kid to a kid's party, they're a bit nervous at first, hiding behind their mum's legs, don't want to go in. But then 5 minutes later, you can't get them out of the place. They're having a fantastic time. There's no alcohol involved. It's just socializing. It's sugar. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. It is sugar. The next one we'll look at quickly is I drink alcohol to relax. Now, this is a very lovely scene. But for a lot of people, it does tend to turn into this. Because as I said earlier, alcohol gives us about 1 hour. You basically get 1 hour where it does relieve stress, but it's a bit like a payday loan, where you get the money now, but you're paying an extremely big rate of interest for that money that you've got to pay back at some point. I heard a really great quote about alcohol that is, when we drink, we're borrowing happiness from tomorrow. And I think that kind of sums up a lot of the time what's actually going on. One of the things that I found was I was very stressed, because I was drinking a lot, and alcohol it makes it harder to move past your problems when you're drinking, because partly what I was saying about sleep. I was going to mention dinorphin, but I've already done that, so forget it. But yeah, so there's good reasons why it doesn't help us relax. We think it does, but actually it's doing the opposite. It's compounding our problems. It's making it harder to move past our problems because it's raising our heart rate, robbing us of sleep. It's compounding our stress. Next one, I might lose a few people on this one, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. This is always a contentious one. I drink alcohol because I like the taste. How many people would say that? Oh, okay, I'll get my tin hat on here then. So there's a lot of debate around this. Well, I believe, and there's a lot of research on this, that taste with alcohol is a learned behaviour. So it's something you have to work quite hard to acquire. Well, well, what was when you first tried alcohol? What was your reaction? You know, the reaction for 95%, that's an arbitrary number, but most people who drink alcohol for the first time are like, not kind of, lovely, I'll have another one of those, please. It's like, horrible, I don't want to drink it, it tastes disgusting.
Yeah, I did that with olives. My life, I hated olives. And I kept trying every year to try and eat olives. And then I suddenly acquired. Did you dunk it in red wine? No, absolutely not.
Well, alcohol basically, as you know, is poisonous. In the same way, if we eat poisonous berries or rotten food, which is quite apt because that's what alcohol is, but our bodies tell us that they reject it. That's the experience you have as a child. Our bodies reject it and say, "No, don't eat that. It's bad for us." Again, it's evolution. We've evolved to know what's good for us and what's bad for us. But again, because of all the social conditioning and what we see all around us, we question, okay, well, no, I do want to be drinking because my parents are doing it and my friends are doing it and everyone in the world's doing it and David Beckham's doing it. You know, so we kind of push through that when we're younger and think, no, I'm going to something to aspire to when you're younger. So we force ourselves to acquire the taste. And if you go forward 20, 30 years, that's really entrenched. Anyone want to make any comments on this one? Let me just try a little bit further on this one. Then. So the other thing that happens with regards to taste is that what actually is taste fundamentally? Taste is a mechanism of our bodies telling us go and consume that because we need it. We need that thing in our bodies. So when we spoke about like stress earlier, for example, if your beliefs are that alcohol is going to help you relax and it's going to give you a positive benefit, your subconscious will drive you towards consuming that. In the same way why we're driven to have sugary things and fatty things, because we've evolved to, yeah, we need that because that's going to be scarce next month. But obviously the world we live in now, that's not the case. But our evolution, that's not how we've evolved. So if your subconscious beliefs are that you're going to get a benefit from it, then taste is a vehicle for your brain to tell you to go and eat, go and have that, go and consume that. Ultimately, I'm not going to try and convince you on this, but this is one view. Well, isn't the alcohol in, is it? So your body, but it's the alcohol in the alcohol that's your body's rejecting. I've never tried giving. Good experiment to try that. Give a child an alcohol-free beer, see what happens. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'll come on to that. I've got that towards the end. And the last one I wanted to talk about was I drink alcohol to treat myself. Now you're gonna have to bear with me on this one because this slide is quite hard hitting, but it's necessary. So I've taken this from the World Health Organization website a few days ago. This is what the World Health Organization says about alcohol. No level of alcohol consumption is safe for our health. It doesn't say underneath, apart from red wine, that's good for your heart, because that's bollocks. It's not true. So that's kind of quite straightforward. There's not really any room for wriggle room in there. The other thing it says as well, which is most people don't realise, is that alcohol causes cancer. Not is linked to, causes cancer. Causes 7 types of cancer. Alcohol was put in the same group as a carcinogen decades ago, alongside tobacco, asbestos, and radiation. Now, everyone knows that cigarettes cause cancer because it's plastered all over the packs with a picture of a lung covered in tar. But people don't generally know this about alcohol. It's certainly not widely known in society. Why that is, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but that's pretty clear. There's no wriggle room on that. So we can't change what alcohol is. That's what it is. That's what the World Health Organization says. But what we can do is change our beliefs about it and our perceptions of what the benefits are. because alcohol's not going to change. Just to come towards the end of this section, I just want to speak about moderation quickly, because this is quite a big topic for a lot of people as well. My experience of moderating was between the ages of about 38 and 45 before I eventually quit alcohol. I tried every type of moderation you can possibly imagine. I tried limiting myself to a certain number of units a week, just drinking at the weekends, and eventually it kind of turned into seasonal drinking or seasonal binging, where this is right towards the very end, where I'd drink like crazy over Christmas, and then I would take January to March off. I got that far that I could do 3 months. And then I'd go berserk for the spring and the summer, because the sun was out, I'd be in the garden, and I had this belief that, well, I can't not drink in the summer. And I'd go crazy for 6 months or 5 months. And then in September through to November, take that time off and then go berserk again at Christmas. And this actually went on for probably about two years, because I just couldn't kind of quite break it. And really that's just like a diet. That's a yo-yo diet where you're just boom or bust. Binge or nothing. The thing with moderation, has anyone else got any comments on moderation, by the way? Has anyone tried what kind of works for you guys?
3 months of the year I don't. I binge when I start. And very often I don't.
I think one of the things that I probably should have mentioned at the beginning with this is, depending on how much you drink, it's going to impact the benefits you see from this. If you only drink 14 units a week, you're going to see improvements 100%, but not to the extent of somebody who's drinking 50, 60 units. But obviously everyone's different in terms of their consumption. But the problem with willpower that a lot of things with moderation is, the problem is willpower for a lot of people, is that moderating is entirely based on willpower. Willpower is a finite resource, it runs out. As we get more tired, as we make decisions throughout the day, our willpower tanks become more depleted. And any kind of behavior change is really difficult if it's just based on willpower, because you just feel like you're depriving yourself. You feel like you want something and you're not going to let yourself have it. And then there's a whole internal debate about, when am I going to drink? Is that occasion going to be big enough? Okay, I'm just going to drink at the weekends. And then something comes up on a Friday, you're like, well, I'm going to have to drink for that. And then 2 weeks later, there's something on Thursday. And then all of a sudden, you're back to where you started. It just doesn't work. And it's kind of quite demoralizing as well, because this is the problem I was having. I was like, waking up at 3 o'clock because I'd set a boundary for myself and I crossed it. And I'd be like, oh, Christ. And it's demoralizing because you're just failing all the time. And it's really, really quite tough. Mm. Yeah, totally. The other problem is the impact it has on our brain, because once you have alcohol in your system, your prefrontal cortex is effectively offline. And the prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that's responsible for judgment, risk aversion, and impulsivity. And this is why you see all of the downstream effects when people are drunk, of saying something they wouldn't normally say to their boss at a Christmas party, that kind of thing, and taking their clothes off and running around. So all this kind of thing, it's because your prefrontal cortex is shut down. So if you go out thinking, okay, I'm only going to have one drink tonight, as soon as you've had that one drink, the deal's off, because your prefrontal cortex is depressed and you don't have that decision-making power anymore. And so when you remove alcohol, okay, I'm going to take a month off, I'm going to have a break, it's going to happen, put my foot down on this. You remove all of that internal debate of like, oh, can I not? So it's a much more effective way of doing it. On to the last section. Thanks for bearing with me. You'll be pleased to know that I've only got about another 6 or 7 slides, and they're all quite quick. So, sure, of course. Yeah.
They have meetings,
conferences,
meals. What do they serve?
Well, that is an excellent point. I wouldn't have thought they serve alcohol. No, it's a good shout. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. It's a good point. Well, I think I can't remember the exact number, but there's one of the books I read actually, which I'll mention later on, is in the Houses of Parliament. There's something like about, I don't know the exact number, something like about 14 highly subsidised bars. So when you see Prime Minister's Question Time in the afternoon, and it's all, they're all hammered. And I'm not joking though, but they are. It's like a football crowd mentality, because they've all been drinking all afternoon. And these are people that are running the country and making decisions. I mean, how can we vote on like policy and stuff when people are drunk? I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So final part, I just want to give you some sort of tips around dry January, but this works for any kind of break at any time. The most important thing with dry January is mindset, and look at it as a fresh perspective. A lot of people go into dry January thinking, okay, I'm going to do a month. It's going to really going to suck, but I'll prove to myself that I'm not an alcoholic. And then February the 1st, I'm going to go crazy again. You're kind of missing the point. The best way to kind of approach dry January is an experiment with curiosity. So when I spoke about earlier about, can I socialize that alcohol? Can I go out with my friends? Try it, see how it goes, be curious, and be like, how am I going to feel if I don't drink? I'm really interested to know how that's going to be. So approach it. Go on, sure. Dry January the 7th. Yeah. Well, alcohol stays in your system physically for about a week. For most people, if you're a heavy drinker, kind of alcoholic level, it can be it can be sort of 10 days to 2 weeks. But for most people, it's completely cleared your system in a week. So then it's completely in your mind after that. I'll come on to that. I've got that. So by taking a break, it's giving yourself a data point for comparison. And like I say, if like me, you've never taken more than a week off when you've been forced to because you've been sick since you were a teenager, which is true for quite a lot of people. You don't really know whether how things are going to be. It's an assumption. It's like this idea of not being able to socialize. You don't know that. Any assumption that we make about something in the future is just a guess because it hasn't happened. Apart from death, which is the only certain thing, anything else is an assumption. 7 tips, tactics for dry January success. The first one, and by far the most powerful one, is focus on what you're gaining, not what you're losing. And this is something that I do in coaching. Session 1 is an exercise on, okay, have a think about some of the benefits to you of taking a break from alcohol. And I listed some of them before in the previous slide. And if you do this properly and you really think, okay, what are the benefits? Sleep, I can exercise better, I'm nicer to my wife, all these kind of things. Most people come up with about 25 to 30 genuine, huge life rocks benefits of not drinking. And then think about what you perceive you're going to be losing. And most people will struggle to come up with more than about 4 or 5. And as I've spoken about there only very, very briefly, when you start picking away at those and thinking, is that actually true? A lot of them aren't. I haven't convinced you on all of them, I get that, but they're one slide. I'm coaching a lady at the moment who started on January 1st. And one of the things that she put down as the benefits was that it's a source of confidence. She's about 35 years old. She's Polish. And about a year and a half ago, she set up her own business in construction, which is a hugely male-dominated industry. And she told me that she needs to drink alcohol for confidence. And I said, but you're a 35-year-old. You're from Poland. There's obviously a lot of racial stereotypes around Polish people. And she'd set up a business in construction. I was saying, you honestly think you need confidence from alcohol? And when I said that, her face lit up and she was like, yeah, you're right, it's not true, I don't. And it was a real breakthrough, literally in the first hour of us working together. But it's true, we tell ourselves all these things that just aren't true when you really dig into them. The second one is it's about progress, not perfection. So yeah, perfection is the enemy of progress. So let's say, for example, you get to day 10 of dry January and you've got a wedding, 10 hours of everybody's pissed. And you're like, okay, you have a slip after day 10 or day 5 or day 15, whatever it may be, the most important thing is not to hit the solid button. It's to get back on the horse and go, you know what, okay, I had a slip, I'm getting back to it. But what we tend to do is we have this completist, perfectionist mindset of, oh, I've ruined it, it's off. But if you do 30 days alcohol-free and you drink one day, you've been alcohol-free 97% of the time. In any other context, that is an amazing result, isn't it? So not focusing on it has to be perfect, or just because you've blown the streak, it doesn't mean it has to end there. The next one is don't lock yourself away. You know, like I said earlier, I'm really big on go to the pub, try it out, challenge your beliefs. Become a mindful observer of yourself. So one of the things that I get my clients to do is write a journal of how they're feeling. So before we start, you know, I say drink for a week or so before you get into it, but write down how you're feeling when you wake up in the morning, you know, mentally, physically, tired, everything. And then when you take a break, write down how you're feeling then, and draw that comparison of how you're feeling. Number 5 is find community, join others. Taking a break can be quite isolating. It's not so bad in dry January because more people are doing it. But for a lot of people, if you're on your own and it's kind of foreign territory and you don't really know, I'm not sure I'm going to like this, finding support from other people. It doesn't have to be people you know. It can be people online. So following, you know, influencers in the alcohol-free space who've, you know, gone alcohol-free or taken a break. I've never met anyone who's taken a break from alcohol, who's quit alcohol, who goes, well, it's all right. Everyone just loves it. I'm not a big fan of AA, if I'm honest. Because AA have helped a lot of people over the 100 years they've been around. But they kind of you'll always be an alcoholic. I don't think that's very helpful. And it's also not true. This idea that alcohol is a disease, well, that's not. It's people who don't drink, they never get the disease. No. I'm talking about follow people on social media, listen to podcasts, read quit lit books, join Facebook communities, but just surround yourself with other people in the alcohol-free space because it really gives positive reinforcement. If you're doing it on your own, you're kind of questioning yourself, and you're like, I'm not sure this is for me. But when you follow people who've done it before, and not necessarily like me, but other people who just, this is great, they love it, and it gives you that extra momentum and helps convince you that you're doing the right thing. Number 6 is plan your time. As I mentioned earlier, you get a lot of time back when you don't drink, and time's the most precious thing we have. It's fantastic to have time back, but you have to make sure you know what you're going to do with it and how you're going to fill it. Because if you're sat at home doing exactly the same things you did before, but you're not drinking, you know, you're going to be like, this feels a bit awkward. Change your routine up a bit, do different things. Try and plan what you're going to do with that time, because boredom leads to drinking. You start thinking about it. And the last one, find alcohol-free alternatives. Who remembers this? Anyone remember Caliber? Anyone around in the 80s and 90s? You probably can't still get the taste out of your mouth. It was that bad. Absolutely horrendous. I don't know when this went, but thankfully it's long gone. Oh, it's rank. Well, up until probably about 15 years ago, that was all there was. There was another one called White Label, which was equally as bad. Was there pills? I'm not sure there was, but Caliber was absolutely dreadful. And then about 15 years later, we got Beck's Blue, which isn't a whole great deal better either. But now, oh my God, there's so many fantastic alcohol-free options. The wines are coming along. They are probably, in terms of the categories, they are getting better, but it will happen because as a category, alcohol-free alternatives are absolutely exploding. They will get it right, 100%. It will come. The Guinness is outstanding. You know, I used to drink a lot of Guinness, regular Guinness. You cannot tell the difference between Guinness Zero and the normal one. Yeah. Yeah, there are. Yeah. There's not sugars. There's not sugar from the alcohol, but there is still sugar in them. It is often worth. Yeah. Well, a glass of wine is about 220 calories. A pint's about 200 calories. It takes you about 20 minutes to run that off. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But the number of alternatives now, there's something for everybody in terms of non-alcoholic drinks. Like I said, the wine is coming along. It's not quite there, but it's getting better. But lucky. Yeah, that's a bit of a yeah. I'm a bit like, what about the tax? How does that work? But yeah, they are the same price. No pressing. Yeah, no pressing. No, mm. So yeah, no, they're pretty much well. Part of the reason is because a lot of the non-alcoholic drinks are made by the alcohol industry. um, they're actually kind of, in a way, it's a bit of a kind of catch-22 because a lot of sporting events now are sponsored by the 0-0 version. But if you've got Heineken 0-0 over the, plastered all over Twickenham or Guinness Zero, you're still promoting your main brand, but you're also telling people. So in a way, it's a good thing because the marketing budgets of the alcohol industry is actually helping raise the profile and um, push the 0-0 brands. But things like Lucky Saint, which is generally heralded as the best non-alcoholic beer, I mean, it's fantastic. I only discovered Lucky Saint after I'd quit alcohol, but I've got friends who still drink normally and drink Lucky Saint, and they say it tastes better than normal lager. Can't say that for myself, but it's outstanding. It's such a fantastic product. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I normally have about 2 or 3 a night. I love them. They're really good, but they're such a good substitute. They're pretty much the same as generally a little bit less than normal. No, no, there's it, one thing I've found from looking, I've drunk about sort of 50 different ones. I always record them on my phone. That the amount of sugar in them varies enormously. But yeah, well, what I was talking about with taste earlier, I'm talking about the taste of alcohol. Your body can sense alcohol. I didn't, I can't remember. If I drank an alcoholic beer when I was 7 years old, I don't know how I would respond to it. Maybe I liked it, maybe I wouldn't. But what I'm talking about in terms of the acquired taste, that is our body's rejecting alcohol as a poison, not hops, for argument's
Well, at home, when you're drinking at home, you make loads of different
sake. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't tried them, then there's something out there pretty much for everybody. And if you are a big, no, you go ahead. No, you go. No, no, please do. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So our 20th wedding anniversary next week, by the way. So, lucky guy. Okay, I've just got one more slide, or a couple more slides. I spoke about this already. Yeah, the alcohol-free alternatives are booming. They were absolutely everywhere. Most of the supermarkets have sold out. Most of the time, they can't get the demand planning right for it. You go to Waitrose. When I first quit drinking, 3.5 years ago, they had 4 beers. Now it's about 30. It's absolutely booming, and that's because they're such great products. They would not be selling like that if they were Caliber. So before I finish, I just wanted to share some resources with you if you wanted to take your journey to the next level. These are 4 books that I read that had an enormous impact on me quitting alcohol. The first one is by Professor David Nutt. He's the person that I referenced. This is where I found out about the number of bars that are in Parliament. David Nutt used to be the government's drugs and alcohol advisor. He headed up all of policy around alcohol and drugs, and he wrote a report which he published where he said alcohol was the most dangerous drug to society, and they fired him. So he wrote this book, and he put it all in the book. The next 2, This Naked Mind and Alcohol Explained, are the 2 most powerful things that I read that changed my beliefs about alcohol. Has anyone ever read The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr? Heard of that? They were inspired by that book. So it's a very similar process. So it's basically neurolinguistic programming, sort of cognitive behavioral therapy, really helps you reflect on the benefits that you perceive of drinking. A lot of things that I've talked about with beliefs, all of this kind of started with me with these 2 books. They were enormously powerful. And the last one is just a book I absolutely love, The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by a lady called Catherine Gray. Catherine Gray used to be a journalist for Vogue, worked in London in the 90s, was a really big drinker. It's kind of her memoir about how she quit alcohol. And she's really funny and just really, really endearing person. It's just a lovely book to read. She wrote a follow-up to this called Sunshine Warm Sober. And she called it that because it's like this idea that stone cold sober is generally, I don't use the word sober very much because I think it's got too many negative connotations. I tend to use alcohol free. But she said stone cold sober is just could not be further away from the truth of an alcohol free life. It is sunshine warm sober. Yeah, it's true. And I want to give you some podcasts as well. Podcasts are growing like crazy at the moment. This first one, The Big Drink Rethink, is really great tool. So Anna Donaghy's an alcohol-free mindset coach as well, and I rip off quite a lot of her stuff, I'll be entirely honest. But she's really, really good, really good. She actually trained with Annie Grace, who wrote This Naked Mind on the previous page. Again, it's all kind of questioning your beliefs. And the one in the middle there, the Alcohol-Free Advantage podcast, where I ripped the title off for my presentation. Andy Ramage trained me as a coach. He's a huge alcohol-free firework. He's just a huge person within the alcohol-free space. He's been alcohol-free for 10 years, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's got a documentary coming out a bit later on this year about alcohol-free and about social conditioning and the alcohol industry and that kind of thing. And the hope is that that's going to open up a lot of people's eyes to what goes on with booze. And my final slide, just want to talk a bit more very quickly about what I do as a coach and what benefits working with a coach can bring, working in partnership. A coach brings support and encouragement, accountability, and sort of personalized strategies. But most importantly, it's asking powerful questions that make people reflect on what their beliefs are about alcohol. Because if you can change beliefs that you've had for 30 or 40 years, 20 or 30 years, however long, that really is the kind of key to it. Because then it's entirely up to you whether you want to drink or not. You might want to go alcohol free, you might not. Either way's good. But it took me best part of 8 years to kind of unpick all of my beliefs. And I didn't have anyone to bounce ideas off or speak to, but what I do now is basically distill that down into a fraction of the time for people that I work with. And of all the people I worked with last year, all of them have either quit alcohol entirely and are thriving, or have got their drinking down massively to a point where they feel completely in control of it and they're happy with where they are. And I'm not saying this to boast, but many of them have said that it's changed their lives. And for me, that is absolutely incredible. Brings me so much contentment. I don't have any children, so I don't have any kind of big purpose in life. But part of the reason why I got into coaching is because I want to, I hate to use the term give back, but kind of help people make some kind of meaningful contribution to society. And that's something I started to do this year, and it's just been absolutely fantastic, really life-changing. If you want to speak to me one-to-one about alcohol, about any of the things that we've talked about, I post regularly on LinkedIn, all this sort of stuff that you've seen today. I've expanded upon that in posts. I live just around the corner. I'm always happy to meet up with people at Pennyhill for a coffee and chat about any of these things in more detail. But I just want to thank you all for listening, because I'm conscious this is 60 slides. And I'm incredibly grateful to you for listening. Of course. Habit.
We get into the habit of having a drink.
Yeah.
When I'm cooking,
Yeah. This sort of, if you could